Hi everyone. I've never shared something this personal before, but here goes. My name is Darren, and this is the story of the most humiliating night of my life and how I walked away from it with my dignity intact. It started like most love stories do, quietly. I met Sophia at a weekend food market in San Diego. She was standing in line ahead of me at a Cuban sandwich stall, struggling to juggle a phone call and her wallet at the same time. I stepped in, offered to hold her coffee while she paid. She looked up, smiled, and said, "You saved my life." We laughed. It wasn't a big moment, but it stuck. 2 hours later, we were sitting under a palm tree near the bay, sharing lunch like old friends. That was Sophia's thing. She had this instant warmth, this magnetic pull. Talking to her felt like exhaling after holding your breath too long. Over the next few weeks, we fell into a rhythm. Sophia worked in marketing for a boutique travel company, and I was a junior graphic designer still paying off student loans. We didn't have much, but we made the best of it. Hikes, home-cooked dinners, and late-night drives just to feel like we were going somewhere. She had a laugh that could light up a dead room. And when she looked at me, I really believed she saw the best version of who I could be. We dated for almost 3 years. Through job changes, family drama, apartment moves, we stuck together. I wasn't rich or flashy or hyper-successful, but I was steady. I loved her with everything I had. Her parents lived in Miami, Cuban immigrants who worked hard their whole lives to give their daughters a better future. She talked about them all the time. How strict her dad was, how sweet her mom could be, how proud they were of traditions. But I had never met them. Until one Thursday afternoon, she texted me, "Hey babe, guess what? My parents are in town this weekend. They want to meet you, finally." I froze. We'd talked about it before, sure. But this felt sudden. I hadn't even had time to mentally prepare. Still, I knew it mattered to her. So I swallowed my nerves and said, "Yeah, of course. Let's do it." She grinned, kissed me, and said, "You're gonna love them. They're intense, but good people." I believed her. Saturday night came fast. I picked up a bottle of wine, cleaned myself up, and wore my best jacket, the one I save for important interviews. This felt like one. I pulled up to the house they were renting, a beautiful Spanish-style bungalow near La Jolla. Sophia opened the door, radiant in a maroon dress, hair curled, eyes full of fire. "You look handsome," she whispered. That calmed me. A little. Inside, her parents were already seated. Her father, Senor Alvarez, stood tall and quiet, eyes scanning me like he was reading a resume. Her mother, Carmen, gave me a soft smile and hugged me immediately. We made it to the dinner table after a quick round of introductions. The food smelled incredible: ropa vieja, sweet plantains, garlic rice, black beans. My stomach growled. Sophia squeezed my hand under the table. "Relax," she mouthed. At first, it felt okay. Her dad asked me polite questions. Where I was from, what I did. I answered as confidently as I could, talking about my freelance work, my upcoming projects, my goals. I saw him nod a few times, tight-lipped but thoughtful. Then came the wine. More questions. Some Spanish. A little laughter from her mom. And that's when things started to shift. Sophia switched languages mid-sentence. One moment we were talking about LA traffic. The next she was fully in Spanish, fast, fluid, animated. I'm not fluent. Not even close. But I took Spanish for years in high school. I remembered just enough to catch tone, context, and some very specific words. I stayed quiet. I smiled, pretended not to notice. But every time they laughed, every time her father raised his eyebrow and Sophia waved her hand dismissively, I knew. They were talking about me, about my job, my salary, my car, my lack of ambition. And then, Sophia said something. I caught the word temporal, temporary. Then she laughed and added something like, "Just introducing him before the real one shows up." My stomach dropped. Her mom laughed so hard she had to put her fork down. Her dad smiled for the first time all night. I felt like I wasn't sitting at the table anymore. I felt like I was watching myself from across the room, watching this whole performance play out like I was a prop in some cruel little play. They thought I didn't understand. They thought I was too dumb, too soft, too underqualified. But I heard every word, and I will never forget what I did next. The room was warm, but inside me, something had gone ice cold. I sat there, fork paused midair, listening as Sophia tore into me in Spanish, with a bright smile on her face like she was saying something charming. "No, seriously," she said, "he's sweet, but he's not the one. Just keeping things interesting while I wait for better." Her mother nodded, smirking. Her father chuckled and muttered something I barely caught, but the word fracassadoo was in there. Failure. I felt like the walls were closing in. I looked at Sophia, this woman I had trusted for almost 3 years, the woman I thought I was going to marry. She looked so alive in that moment, so comfortable mocking me in front of her family, assuming I couldn't understand. She didn't know I had picked up Spanish from my best friend growing up, that I'd spent years listening to his family talk at backyard barbecues, piecing together meaning, tone, rhythm. I wasn't fluent, but I understood enough. Enough to know that everything happening at that table was fake. The kindness, the small talk, the warmth. It was all a mask. And behind it, they were laughing at me like I was a joke. And then, her mother looked directly at me, tilted her head, and said in Spanish, "Are we sure he doesn't understand what we're saying?" Sophia grinned. "Trust me, he's sweet, but not very bright." That was it. I smiled gently, took a breath, and said in perfect, deliberate Spanish, "Thank you for having me. The food is delicious." The silence was immediate. Her father stopped chewing. Her mother's eyes went wide, fork frozen halfway to her mouth. And Sophia, she went pale, like someone had flipped a switch and drained the color from her skin. "Wait, what?" she whispered. I turned to her, calm, quiet. "You didn't know I understood Spanish, did you?" She blinked, swallowed. You never said." "I didn't have to," I said, "because I never thought I'd need to protect myself at your family's dinner table." I looked at her parents. "I came here tonight because I thought this was about building something real. Meeting the people who raised the woman I love. What I got instead," I shook my head, "was a front row seat to my own humiliation." Her mom opened her mouth like she wanted to apologize, but nothing came out. I stood up, picked up my coat. Then I turned to Sophia, the woman I'd planned a future with, and said, "You didn't just let them disrespect me. You joined in. You made me small on purpose. And the worst part? You thought I'd never know." She stammered. It was a joke. It wasn't serious. No, I cut in. It was honest. People don't laugh that hard at something they don't mean. I nodded at her parents, polite, respectful, even now. "Gracias por la cena. Que pasen buena noche. Thank you for the dinner. Have a good night." And I walked out. I didn't slam the door. I didn't make a scene. I just walked to my car, started the engine, and drove. My hands were steady on the wheel, but my heart was pounding. 3 years. 3 years of birthdays, beach trips, sick days, holidays. 3 years of memories, now shattered in a single evening. When I got home, my phone started lighting up almost immediately. Missed call, Sophia. Missed call, Sophia. Text, "Wait, can we talk?" Text, "I didn't know you'd take it like that." Text, "Are you seriously mad over this?" She didn't get it. She didn't understand that this wasn't about the language. It wasn't about Spanish. It was about respect. Or the total lack of it. She thought the real betrayal was that I hadn't told her I understood. Not that she'd humiliated me. Not that she'd called me a placeholder. Not that she'd laughed with her family like I was beneath her. I turned my phone face down. I didn't respond. I didn't call back. I didn't rage or beg or explain. I just sat in that silence and let it speak for me. For once, I chose me. The next morning, I was on the couch, staring at a blank TV screen, feeling the emotional weight crash over me. I wasn't just sad. I was stunned, numb. A knock on the door broke the silence. I knew it was her before I even got up. I opened the door, and there she was, Sophia, hair pulled back, eyes puffy, wearing a sweatshirt that used to be mine. She looked pissed, confused, and tired all at once. "The hell is going on?" she snapped. "Why are you ignoring me?" I just stared at her for a moment. Then I said, because I don't owe you anything. That hit her. She flinched. You're being dramatic, she argued. It was a joke. My parents joke all the time. You're too sensitive. No, I said, voice steady. You're just too used to people letting you get away with it. She tried to step inside, but I blocked the doorway. Darren, come on, she said, softening her voice. We've been through so much. Don't throw it away over one dumb dinner. I looked her in the eyes. You threw it away the moment you decided to entertain them at my expense. She stood there, waiting for me to back down. I didn't. You're not welcome here, I said, and I shut the door. The silence after I shut that door was louder than any argument we ever had. No yelling, no slamming, just stillness. And for the first time in a long time, it felt like mine. Sophia didn't take the hint. Not right away. Within minutes, the texts started pouring in. Some were pleading. Some were angry. One read, "You're being cold. That's not you." And maybe she was right. That wasn't the old me. The old me would have let her explain. Would have believed her when she said it was just a joke. The old me would have made excuses, told myself maybe I misheard. Maybe I misunderstood. But I hadn't misunderstood a thing. She didn't just make one mistake. She performed cruelty like it was entertainment. And she let her family laugh while I sat there, nodding politely, trying to win their approval like some unpaid intern begging for a shot. And what did she do when they asked if I understood? She called me stupid. Stupid. Not in anger. Not in the heat of a fight. But with a smile. So no, I didn't feel guilty for shutting the door. I felt free. That night, I blocked her number. Deleted her social media. Every picture. Every message thread. Gone. Not out of spite, but because I needed to clear space. Inside and out. The next few days felt surreal. Quiet. Heavy. But also clean. There were moments when I missed her. Not the girl at the dinner table, but the one from that market with the wind in her hair and a coffee in her hand. The one who smiled when I held her hand during horror movies. The one who hummed old Latin love songs while cleaning the kitchen on Sundays. But grief is weird. You don't just mourn people. You mourn who you thought they were. And once I realized that, something inside me shifted. I went back to basics. Woke up early. Went for long walks without my phone. Picked up my sketch pad again. Reconnected with old friends who'd faded into the background of my relationship. I didn't jump on dating apps. I wasn't trying to prove anything. I just wanted to breathe again. A couple of weeks later, a mutual friend texted me. Said Sophia had flown back to Miami. She told people I ghosted her. Said I overreacted. And maybe to her I did. But if standing up for myself calmly, directly, and without shouting is an overreaction, then I'll take it. Let her spin her version. I've got mine. And mine's the truth. One night, I ran into her cousin, Maria, by total accident at a coffee shop downtown. She spotted me, walked over, and said, "Hey, just so you know, I'm sorry about what happened." Not everyone at that table felt good about it. I was embarrassed, too. I looked at her surprised. "You knew?" She nodded. "I speak English fine. But I understand every kind of silence, too. You didn't deserve that." It was the first time anyone from Sophia's side had said anything. And it meant more than I expected. I didn't need apologies. I didn't even need closure. I just needed to know I wasn't crazy, that what I saw, heard, and felt was real. That interaction stayed with me. Weeks turned into months. I got a raise, moved into a better apartment, picked up freelance work I was proud of, even painted again, something I hadn't done since college. I wasn't trying to glow up for revenge. This wasn't a redemption arc. It was a reclamation of my peace, my time, my worth. People think betrayal always ends with shouting, blocked numbers, and dramatic exits. But the most powerful revenge is graceful detachment. No insults, no begging, no explanations. Just walking away when you know you've seen someone's truth and refusing to pretend it didn't hurt. If she ever thinks about me, and I'm sure she will, I hope it's not with guilt or regret. I hope it's with clarity. I was never beneath her. I was just someone she didn't understand how to value. And that's not my failure. It's hers. Looking back, I'm proud of the way I handled it. I didn't stoop to insults. I didn't cause a scene. I stood up, spoke the truth in the language they thought I couldn't speak, and left with my head held high. Some people will spend their whole lives trying to win approval from the wrong audience. I've learned to be my own. So yeah, that dinner? It hurt, but it didn't break me. It woke me up. And from that night forward, I've made a promise to myself. Never again will I sit quietly at a table where I'm the joke. I'd rather eat alone, with dignity.